what is realization. So a proper Gyani in general, when they are not guided properly under the proper Guru Parampara system, their understanding is more about reaches to the maximum level of Paramatma. But when the person is properly guided under the proper bona fide spiritual master in the parampara, then he reaches to the level of pure devotee. No? Manushana Bhunam Janma Namante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyati Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So it's very, very rare soul. Uh, so that is Jnanavan Mam Prapadyati. So now understanding this now, so Sukritinas, they progress from Sakam Bhakti to Nishkam Bhakti if they get in touch with the Sukritis, and then they eventually, while practicing, while following the Supreme Lord, they come in touch with the pure devotees of the Lord. And while coming in pure devotees of the Lord, they get to the level of pure devotional service. But there are some who don't worship Krishna directly. What happened to them? Uh, they worship demigods, or they also worship Krishna Itara, that is demigods, as well as they have understanding about Krishna as an impersonal personality. He is not a form of the Lord, but he is like an impersonal person. So now, these two aspects about surrender, demigod worship, and impersonalism is explained in next 5 verses. So 20 to 23 explains about the demigod surrender to the demigods, and 24-25 talks about the improper surrender to the impersonal understanding, impersonal understanding of the Supreme Lord. So let us move to the verse number 20, where demigod worship has been spoken now. I'll just share PowerPoint 1 minute. कामस्तेस्ते ऋतज्ञानः प्रपद्यन्त्यन्यदेवतः तं तं नियममास्ताय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया. Please read the translation.
Those, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desire surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulation of worship according to their own natures.
Kamasteste ritagyanah. So their intelligence is stolen. Kamasteste ritagyanah. People whose intelligence is stolen by kam, material desire. Ritagyanah. Their intelligence is stolen. So what do? Prapadyantanya devata. So Krishna is telling who surrenders to the demigod here. He is telling here who is surrendering to the demigods. Who surrenders to the demigod? They are whose intelligence is stolen. Why their intelligence is stolen? Because they have material desire. They want to fulfill those material desires. Therefore, they prapadyante anya devata. And then further it says, tam tam niyama asthaya prakrutya niyata swaya. So they adopt various rules and regulations and under control of their own natures or desires. Whatever desires they have, as per those desires or as per that nature, low nature, whatever, no, depending on the modes, different modes, they follow that. In case of Sakam Bhaktas, they are coming in touch with the devotees and slowly they'll get liberated. But in case of Nishkam, this uh, Devata worshippers, the demigod worshipper, they don't have that opportunity actually to get out of the cycle, because they will see in the further verses also about that how It is not possible for them to get out of that. I'm sorry. So, in Vedic system is a typical proper system, which is very nicely mentioned. Means if bhakti is not available, the Suddur is not available, the pure devotee is not available. But anybody in the devotional Vedic system will get upgraded actually. The Vedic system gives different ways that people gets elevated. Those are in uh, sattvic mode of goodness. They worship Vishnu and Vishnu's forms. Those who are in Rajasic, they worship the devatas like Brahmaji. And those who are tamasic, they worship Lord Shiva or Kali, Durga. So in this proper demigod worships or in these places where such facilities are given, there are certain concessions also are given, and they can practice certain level of practices, just like Kali worshippers. They are allowed to offer certain kind of uh, tamasic food, and then they are able to accept it also. But in this all concessions as well as certain instructions given to them, they slowly progress. So here the normal system Krishna is speaking about, mm, that is uh, yo kamesthete hrita jnana prapadyante anya devata. But only when he comes in touch with the pure devotee of the Lord, such person, then he gets freed from this entanglement and he quickly elevates actually himself to the level of pure devotional service. So Prabhupada explains in the purport about them. So these are the demigod worshippers. Demigod worshippers, they lack the knowledge about Krishna, that Krishna is the source of everything. And Krishna actually is a person who is bestowing the even the powers to the demigods. They don't have clarity, understanding about knowledge about Krishna, demigod worshippers. But whereas the devotees, they have very clear cut understanding. Uh, they understand that Supreme Lord is the in control, and by practicing our devotional service, they go back to Godhead. They attain the spiritual uh, destination, that is Golok Vrindavan. So the demigod worshippers, they have their material desires, and their attitude is they have lost their spiritual sense. They are more stooped into the whatever immediate benefits, because I am staying here in this material world, I want all benefits. Such kind of attitude, he is just looked around here only. His drishti is not uh, uh, Shreyas, he is a preyas. Hmm. And he immediately wants results. Whatever he has in the available, immediately wants results. Therefore, to fulfill his material desires, that is his way. And therefore, he is affected by the lower moods also. Whatever desires he gets, based on that, they are governed by that. And because they are governed by these modes, they don't go to the Supreme Lord also. And their motivations are by their desires only. And they therefore don't know the Supreme Lord, and they are satisfied with the whatever regulations are given in the different demigod worshippers. So get every day morning, do some puja, and then you get nice benefits, and he's happy about it. That is how he's satisfied in his life. And they are happy because demigods are fulfilling their desires. That is their conception. So good, go to the devatas, do some worship, and they fulfill their desires, and you are happy. You are staying, but you are staying happily in this material world, but you have repeated birth and death. So sometimes such kind of situation we see people get attracted to the demigod worship, and then they lose us actually the permanent result in their life. Whereas the devotees, they have very clear understanding. They understand that Krishna is the supreme master and all others are servant. Even the demigods also are the servants. They don't never go to the demigods for material benefit. They go only to the supreme Lord only. Hmm. Whatever Lord gives, no problem. But they understand that Lord is my well wisher and Lord is my only maintainer, and they have full understanding that akamo sarva kamo va moksha kamo udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yada purusha param. So if I have desire, if I don't have desire, or if I have desire for liberation, in all cases, I should approve to the Supreme Lord only. And devotee, when he becomes freed from the material desires, he gets uh, fully engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Just like we see in case of Dhruva Maharaj's case. Dhruva Maharaj had that desire, but in Dhruva Maharaj got freed by his instructions of Narada Muni. He followed very strictly in his life, and that made him freed from all the material desires. And in fact, when Lord came, when Lord was giving him, fulfilling all his desire, he was saying to the Lord, "My dear Lord, I don't want anything else now. I'm just Kachan Vichinnam Api Divyaratnam Swami Kathartasmi Varam Nayachi. I don't want any other benediction now." Like that, he was telling. The next 21 verse. यो यो यां यां तनु भक्तः श्रद्धयार्चितुमिच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धा तामेव विदधाम्यहम्. मोहित प्रभु.
I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity.
Here is the amazing nature of the Supreme Lord we get to see now. Hmm. Krishna is sitting in everyone's heart. Matta Parataram Nanya Chinchidasti Dhananjaya is on the same chapter. He is the underlying thread everywhere. Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastam. He is situated in every atom, every molecule, and every living entity's heart also is sitting there. So he knows what's there in his heart. As soon as person desires to worship some demigod, so Krishna gives him faith. Okay, you want to worship Ganesha, you want to worship Durga, you want to worship Shiva, Kartikeya. Okay, you will get exactly same kind of friends around you. You will get opportunity to go to that temple. You will get opportunity to, after going there, hearing the glories about that particular demigod, and then person will get more uh, attached to that also. So Krishna indirectly making all these arrangements for him. So I make his faith steady and can devote himself to that particular deity. So this is a very amazing nature of Krishna we get to see here. Generally, we see if somebody rejecting some superior in a corporate culture, if we are there now, most of many of you are there working in corporate culture. So we get to see that how if boss sees that the subordinate is uh, following him properly, then he is very happy. But boss sees that apart from me, he's going to somebody else, he will become very angry. He'll get a lot of troubles to that person. अरे तुझे पता नहीं मैं कौन हूँ. You don't know your appraisal is in my hand. I can make your life more clear, where who should be, what you should be. The person will become very angry. I remember one devotee, he was doing PhD. So I asked him, so Prabhu, how is the PhD going on? He said, Prabhuji, uh, here in our Krishna consciousness, we have one parampara, and in PhD also there is another parampara. We have to satisfy Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasada. We have to satisfy our guide only. When we satisfy that guide, then that guide becomes our PhD is very easy. We can be very going very nicely. But here we see Krishna is actually creating such a wonderful environment, such a facility for a demigod worship. Hmm. If somebody is not comfortable, no problem. He's concerned about uh, the living entity's elevation. Hmm. See, Krishna, we see his Krishna's kind-heartedness, very compassion, very big-hearted person. Okay, no problem. He is not just concerned about his own position, that who am I, do you know who am I, what you want, but uh, he's concerned about that living entity. Krishna is not rejecting demigods here, not rejecting demigod worship also, and not rejecting demigod worshipper also. But Krishna is concerned for that living entity to get elevated in his consciousness. So this is a very large-hearted, kind-hearted, and compassionate uh, gesture from Lord Krishna, where the living entity he can reform his wrong understanding and mentality. Krishna himself sits in the heart and gives the faith, and he creates that facility of independence. Okay, you don't want to worship me? No problem. You have material desires? No problem. You go ahead and you try to progress in this path. Ultimately, you will elevate slowly, slowly in your Krishna conscious practices. So Prabhupada explains, Krishna is the one actually who is providing the faith to all the worshippers. So one question can come: why Lord facilitates living entity to enjoy and fall into the trap of illusory energy? If Lord is a master, is so compassionate, why Lord is doing that? Actually, this is a facility created by the Supreme Lord, because Krishna gives full freedom and independence to the every individual. Mm. Being a part and parcel, Krishna respects them very much. And Krishna gives that freedom, and along with that, he gives them proper instructions also, so that they can go back and back to Godhead and they can be really happy in their life. Mm. Like Bhagavad Gita comes, and in Bhagavad Gita, Lord gives Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Bhajam Aham Tam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Sucha. So Krishna gives that understanding that okay, if you surrender to me, then you will come back to me. So actually, the both living entities as well as demigod, they are subordinate to the supreme will of the Lord. They are subordinate. Just like living entities are subordinate to the supreme Lord, similarly demigods also are subordinate to supreme Lord. Living entities cannot worship by his own desire. Actually, Lord has to give that faith. Lord has to give that inspiration. Then, based on the proper modes, he starts worshipping that particular demigods. And in case of demigods also cannot give blessings to the living entities on their own. Krishna has to provide that power. Uh, this is how actually Krishna is Matta Prataram Nanat Kijidasti Dhananjaya. Or Prabhupada quotes that not even a blade of grass cannot move without the sanction of and will of the Lord. There's a story comes in the Puranas also, that how one time Lord called different demigods and told, this blade of grass is there now, Surya, Agni, you can burn it, Vayu, you can drive it away. But nobody could do it. Lord was really testing everybody's understanding and their strength. So Lord used this facility for them to worship demigods, and they approach the different demigods, sun god, Saraswati, or Uma, for different reasons. And this is how Krishna is very uh, kind-hearted to the living entity. And on top of that, Krishna also further gives the blessings, the benedictions also are blessed by him. That will be covered in the next verse. The next verse. Okay, before that, Prabhupada covers about this is very wonderful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Many of us have read Bhagavatam. You might have find this wonderful, nicely depicted in this tree here. So Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, 2 to 9. It is mentioned that approaching different demigods for different things in their life, like Prajapatis, one can approach for the good progeny, fire for being very powerful, Lord Shiva for a greatly learned person, Varuna for good bank balance, Vishwadev for worldly kingdom, Apsara and Urvashi for good wife. So like that, Moon for sense gratification, Rudras for a great as a great heroes. So like that, all different personalities are there. They can be worshipped for beauty, being popular, powerful sex, money, good marital relationships, long life. All those things are somebody can do it. And but a devotee of the Lord, he is very happy serving the Supreme Lord. Akamo, sarvakamo va moksha kamo udari. Ivredam bhakti yogena yajeta purusha param. So the devotees, they are very clear. They worship Gaurnitai, they worship Supreme Lord Radha Krishna, whatever their situations are there, and Krishna fulfills their desires. Okay, so go to the next. स तया श्रद्धया युक्तस्तस्याराधन महीपते लभते च ततः कामान् मय्यैव विहितान् हितान्. अभिषेक को.
Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone.
Alone. Krishna is very clearly telling, about demigod worship. So Krishna gives the faith, and then when he gets the faith, he follows particular shastras, particular um, pujaris or brahmanas or demigod worshippers, and he obtains his desire, whatever desire he has. But Krishna is still actually that desire he is getting fulfilled. That actuality is bestowed by Krishna only. Krishna only is blessing that person through this aspects. Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktas Tasya Aradhana Mahipati. So, Devatas are very powerful, but they are powerful because Krishna is sanctioning. Krishna is doing that. And we see if Shastras, many places, there are some situation when Krishna and Devatas, they confront each other. Like in the Bhagavatam, we get to see the Indra becomes very angry with Lord Krishna. Hey Krishna, why are you taking Parijat tree from here? And then he attacked on Krishna. Then what happens? Indra comes to the senses afterwards. Even Brahmaji thought, Array, why this Krishna is small, such a small kid, a bluish kid, small kid. How can he be a controller? How can he kill Aghasur? Let me test him. And he tried to put Krishna into bewilderment, but the very thought that he wanted to bewilder Krishna had put him into the bewilderment. And he realized later on. Then he says, he prays also, Jnane prayaso tapasya namante eva jivanti sanmukritam bhavadiya varta. So he prays to the Lord that, my dear Lord, I cannot understand with my tiny intelligence. And even with the Lord Shiva also, we see sometimes when Banasur case comes. So whenever they are having direct confrontation or fight with Krishna, Krishna always wins. That goes to show Krishna is all powerful and the demigods are dependent on Krishna. So that ultimately comes from Krishna only. So here uh, we see the demigods in the picture. They all are praying to the Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu is blessing them. So demigod worship, that is actually material. They can not give benedictions without permission of the Supreme Lord. When Lord will sanction, then only they can give. Living entities may forget that everything is in property of the Supreme Lord, but demigods, they have clear understanding. They do not forget. They understand that. And whenever they have any troubles, they immediately rush to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Deva Bhavid Bhakta Asturastat Viparyaya. So anytime we see in any Bhagavad Purana or any other Puranas, they are in trouble, immediately they rush to the Supreme Lord and pray to the Supreme Lord and ask their benediction, ask his guidance, and then Krishna will give guidance. Like we see in case of Bhumi Devi, she was so much troubled, but she immediately went to the Kshira Sagar, not Kshira Sagar, she first went to Brahmaji, and Brahmaji took her to along with Shiva also to Kshirosagar, and then they all prayed to the Supreme Lord, and then Supreme Lord made some announcements that yes, I am coming. All of you also take your roles. So like that, demigods are always subordinate and uh, following the Supreme Lord. They have full faith, and those who don't have faith, they are like asuras. Asuras tapiparyaya. And the worship of the Supreme Lord, the devotees, they have proper attitude. They know that Krishna is the Supreme and everything is coming from Krishna. And even if it is for material benefit, does not ask anybody to demigods and not to Lord also. They understand that Krishna knows everything I need, so Krishna will fulfill whatever I need. So in reciprocation, Lord also uh, uh, gives this living entity desire to return to back come back to Godhead, and he removes all material impediments. Therefore, Supreme Lord does not award material benefits to the devotees. Just- yeah. So, what are the results of such demigod worship? That is been spoken into the next verse, that is 23. Antavantu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedasaam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. So, yeah, please read translation. Vishwas Prabhu.
Men of a small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet.
Antavantu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedasam. The men of small intelligence uh, worship the demigods, and the fruits also are temporary, limited and temporary. Tadbhavati antavantu phalam tesham. And what is their destination? Those who worship demigods, they go to the planets of demigods. That means in the material world only. But those who worship Supreme Lord, Madbhakta Yanti Mahapapi, they go to my planet. So, actually, these demigods, heavenly planets, are very powerful in one way. Uh, because we have been given access to understand directly Golok Vrindavan. Sometimes we don't understand the power and potency of the this demigods, planets. Very powerful it is. In fact, when you read in Srimad Bhagavatam, on the fifth canto, where this Bhumandal is mentioned, in that there are certain places they are like a Swarga only, very powerful. If you hear the description there only, it is so powerful how the residents of this Varshas, different Varshas, King Purush Varshas, and this different Varshas, their so opulence is there. And they are still on the earthly planet. So, what to speak of the demigods? But even if one goes to the demigod, the fruits are temporary. Tadbhavati alpamedasam. And they are limited. They stay for certain time because in case of uh, demigods, their worship is temporary. Their abodes are also temporary. As long as Brahmaji is there, their abodes are there. But when Brahmaji goes, they also goes along with that. Their blessings, if somebody is doing demigod worship and getting the blessings, that also is temporary. And the worshippers also are temporary because they are moving up and down in the Brahma Bhuvana Loka. So the ultimate getting blessings one can get is one may slowly, when worshipping the demigod, with a proper understanding that they are the assistant to the Supreme Lord, then will get elevated to the demigod worship. Generally, in demigods, they when they get too much with respect to the demigod, they see demigods different from the Supreme Lord, and that is a aparadha also. So, but those who are demigod worshippers, they are worshipping demigod, they have to follow proper rules and regulations. Very much it is given in the scriptures. Only when one follows the proper rules and regulation, then he will get proper benefit. Otherwise, he will not get benefit. Like in today's scenario, we see Ganapati Puja. Now on our UP also has become very famous, like Mumbai. Ganpati Puja. People are worshipping Lord Ganesh. And how they worship Lord Ganesh? In the morning and in the evening, Aarti is there played. But daytime, what is there? They all are playing a lot of disco songs and they are dancing there. They are having some cards playing there, gambling there. And sometimes I know, seeing such situations in Maharashtra, many places they even drink liquor also there. So Ganesha will be like shouting at them and saying, crying at seeing at them what kind of worship they are offering actually. And such kind of worships are there, then of course they have some shraddha, but that will take long time for them to even get a perfection in the demigod worship also properly, getting proper sanctions and blessings from the demigod. So that will take more time. For such people, we don't have to disturb them. Let them follow the rituals. Let them have that professional style of approach to the demigod worship. But we should gently explain them that if you are worshiping Devta only, Ganapati only, why don't you worship in proper form, proper structure given in the scriptures and slowly guide him? Then he will progress on the path of his demigod worship. And when he get touch with the devotees, then he will advance in his Krishna consciousness also. And by worshipping particular devta, one will go to the devta support. If somebody worshipping devta is getting good health, he will go to the Surya Loka. But then again, at the end of the Brahmanda, he has to again do that Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu. Actually, if you see, the life has two different aspects. First, one aspect is about the material aspect. Person has a material life. He has to pursue certain goals, but he also has to be clear about permanent goals of his life also. If somebody is just focusing on the material aspect of the life, then he is alpa medasa. Just like, for example, now somebody is studying in a very reputed institute, powerful institute, like let us say IIT, NITs, and is studying there. But after going there, he is not much focusing on developing his career. बोल रहा है अभी एक IIT में आ गए अभी गौरव बुटेल्स IIT में आने का काम हमारा और निकालने का काम इंस्टीट्यूट का they will take us out of the institute by making pass. So not like that. People may just come to IIT for eating, sleeping, but it is IIT not meant for that. IIT is meant for having proper career, work hard, get proper job, and move forward in certain direction properly. So if he's coming there and doing time pass, then it is useless. So similarly, the human form of life also is very important for us to attain the perfection in our life, the spiritual perfection, the permanent goal in our life. So we have to create that proper understanding, level of understanding. Then we'll get the permanent result in our life. So this is about the demigod worship. And then now 24, 25, we move towards the uh, impersonalist, those who are worshipping the supreme uh, with improper understanding of impersonalism. Okay, before that, just the purport Prabhupada covers this wonderful result of worshipping demigods and supreme lord. Demigod is perishable benefits, but supreme lord is eternal benefits. And supreme lord, devotional service to the supreme lord, his favor, his mercy are all unlimited. But here, the demigods worship is within the material world, and it always person remains in the material world only, is perishable. So this verse also refutes that the worship of the demigod can take one to the supreme lord, since the worship of the demigod leads to their respective planet. There are certain slokas. This is Sarvadeva Namaskaram Keshavam Pratigachati, that we worship any demigod, but ultimately because they are part and parcel of Krishna, So worship Krishna only. But no, that is not right understanding. Prabhupada gives very graphic example. He says, "Arey, body has different parts, but then food has to put at certain place only. You cannot put food to the stomach through your eyes or nose. It has to go from your mouth only. So certain directions are given. So perfect knowledge is these demigods are part and parcel of the Lord, and living entities also are part and parcel of the Lord. So living entities, they are been divided into Chaturvarnamaya system as the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras, who are considered as the heads, arms, waist, and the legs of the society. Similarly, demigods also, they are different parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are meant for serving in different ways. And this is how both the demigods as well as the living entities are dependent. So here is little detailed elaboration about demigod worship or their nature. Follow Karma Kanda section of Vedas, attached to the material enjoyments, six quick results. Their philosophy is that believe that one who worships the demigods can reach the Supreme Lord. That is their understanding as equal to Krishna. So that is another aparad on devotional platform. And demigods is supreme instead of Krishna. They plays that song also. Tumse bada karo kaun. There's nobody above than you, like that. They perceive. And they understand this world is meant for enjoyment only, so let us try to enjoy dharma, artha, kama. And they hardly worry about moksha. Their mentality and attitude is that I am the enjoyer. They desire they desires superior enjoyment in the higher planet. False prestige they are looking for. They have, and their intelligence is lost due to the lusty desire because they have such a lusty desires. Their spiritual acumen is completely lost on. And what do? They perform prescribed duties, what are given in the scriptures, worship demigods, and perform sacrifices. And maximum result that they can get is achieve the uh, demigods abode in the material world only. And maximum, this is for the destination of demigod worshippers. There are another classes of men who surrendered improperly are the impersonalist. But the impersonalist who are there, they can maximum reach to the Brahma Jyoti. These are, you can see here below different karmas people are doing, but person is elevated to the understanding of Brahman and he can maximum reach to the Brahma Jyoti. Their philosophy is that impersonal Brahman as a supreme. Krishna's form and pastimes are temporary manifestation of the Brahma in contact with the matter and Mayavad. They think that Krishna is as an ordinary human, son of Vasudeva and Devaki. And so that is their understanding. But they lack a knowledge about Krishna is imperishable and avyayam, avyaktam, avyayam. Krishna is unborn and infallible, and Krishna knows the past, present, and future. That day, that is the lack of knowledge. So now Krishna is moving towards uh, the next, that is the impersonalist understanding. 24. Avyaktam vyaktimaapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavamajananto mamavyayam manuttamam. Would like to read Abhishek Prabhu?
Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and I have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme.
So मन्यन्ते माम अबुद्धयः. भगवान क्या बोल रहे उनको? पहले तो अल्प मेधसाम बोल रहे थे. देवताओं को क्या बोले? अल्प मेधसाम. लेकिन फॉर द impersonalist was saying अबुद्धया. Unintelligent. They don't have intelligence only. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I am the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed the personality. Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam Manyante. They think that Krishna was before a Brahman, but now he has taken a form. So that is their, they don't understand what is that. Param Bhavam Ajananto. Lord has a pure form, Lord has a wonderful leelas. They don't understand that. Param Bhav, the transcendental nature of the Lord, they don't understand. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature. What is higher nature? Sachidananda Vigraha, Leela Vigraha. That is imperishable and supreme. Mama Vyam Anuttamam. So, this is a very Vishesh aspect now. Impersonalist. There are two impersonalist categories we understand. One is Brahmavadi and one is Mayavadi. Brahmavadis, as we saw in the previous, that they have certain understanding about Krishna as the supreme, and they understand supreme as to be without form. They don't have clarity about the form. But Mayavadis, they think actually this Krishna or this bhakti, this is actually the medium to move to the higher reality. Hmm. And therefore, Krishna is saying that they are unintelligent. They are not understanding Param Bhavam Ajananto. And because they don't understand Krishna's Param Bhav, they are offending Krishna. So, Brahmavadi and Mayavadi, to have a clear understanding, there's some philosophical understanding and discussion is there that Upanishads, they speak about Tattvatraya, Jiva, Jagat, and Jagadish, living entity, this material world, and the Supreme Lord. So Upanishad always speaks about this language of Tattvatraya. And what is the Mayavadi concocted understanding? They say that there's a pure Brahman, and this pure Brahman comes in touch with goodness, and that becomes Jagdish. When that pure Brahman comes in contact with passion, that becomes Jiva. And when that pure Brahman comes in touch with ignorance, that becomes Jagat. And they think that everything is illusion. Jagat, Jagadish, and Jiva, all are illusion. So therefore, they make Supreme Lord to be very material. Krishna is telling actually again and again that I am not in them, they are in me. I am above three modes of material nature. They are in the three modes of material nature. But still, they put Krishna into that category. That is how they are completely offending the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they don't have that proper understanding. Therefore, they are not Jnana Manma Prapadati. So, Mayavadis, they think that bhakti is a transitional. We will do bhakti for understanding or for having our detailed focus on the Supreme Lord, and then we will grow in our understanding, and then we will give up that bhakti because we'll achieve the Supreme. That is how they actually see wrongly the Supreme Lord. And therefore it is very, very offensive. In fact, they have their own level of understanding. Like in our bhakti, we understand that in devotional service, we have these five rasas: Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuryaras. And then we understand that we go in that particular rasa and have a eternal relationship with the Lord. But they use this five level of understanding. They say that actually you come in touch with the Supreme Brahman in this particular rasa of Shanta rasa, then you are close. You go more intense, then you go to the Dasya rasa, then you become more close, then you become Sakshya That you go close, then you become Vasalya. You have that parental friendship with the Brahman, and then conjugal friendship with the relationship with the Brahman, and beyond that, you merges in the Brahman. So they say that higher than conjugal rasa is merging into the Brahman. This is how they understand. They see. Mm. Therefore, Krishna is telling again and again, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tatvataha. That they don't understand. Krishna says, Avajananti ma mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhutam maheshwaram. Similarly, Krishna is telling here also, Krishna is what is telling? That avyaktam vyakti mahapannam manyante mama buddhaya param bhavam ajananto. Here also, Lord is saying, param bhavam ajananto. So this is how they fail to understand the Supreme as the Supreme, and they see Krishna as a material aspect in the life. So therefore, a devotee is very conscious and careful about understanding such philosophy in the right direction, and they try to understand the Supreme Lord and his relationships, how is eternal, the Supreme Lord, the Tattvatraya he properly understand in this way. So we'll stop here for today. 25th verse onwards, we'll try to take next Monday. If any devotees have any questions, we'd like to take one or two. Okay, Abhishek too has. Yes, Abhishek, you can go on.
Yes, Priji, like we discussed that if a particular person is worshipping a particular demigod, then he will go to that a particular
Planet.
planet of that demigod, and he
Right,
will get certain benefits that particular demigod is providing. Like
right,
if the sun god is he is worshipping sun god, then he will get good health.
right,
So, Priji, like we see that in our culture of India, people are worshipping demigods at different times. Like Ganpati Puja come, they worship Ganpati. Puja come, they worship Durga. Like this, and when Janmashtami come, they also worship Krishna also. So, what will be their destination?
material world. They'll keep doing Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. And because they are not interested in demigod also. They are interested in being staying in this material world and having a happy life. So then demigod say, ठीक है आपको इधर रहना इधर ही रहो. Don't come to my planet. Be happy here. I will provide whatever you need. आपने थोड़ी पूजा कर दी उसके बदले में आपको थोड़ा सा जो दे चाहिए हेल्थ चाहिए पैसा चाहिए जो चाहिए दे दूंगा मैं. Like that. Therefore, they will continue to stay in material world. They will not go to even the planet of demigod also.
And Priji, their elevation also not happen like for Krishna consciousness.
No, unless devotee doesn't come in their lives, they are sukruti. While staying in the material world, one good benefit for them is there are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement going on and devotees moving around doing book distribution. So by some uh, goodwill or good what that words yadrichaya, if that happens, then they will get in touch with devotee and then they have certainly very big hope. Okay, Yadav Shrestha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask that, Prabhuji, you told that Lord gives the faith to the demigod worshippers so that they can be gradually elevated. Actually, like we also saw Prabhuji, the example of Ganpati Puja. Prabhuji, how to understand that why the impersonalists are getting more and more conviction on their path? So how Lord is trying to help them, or to say means to Prabhuji, how to understand that their conviction on their path?
Acha, impersonalist conviction on their path. How to see that? Your question is
Yes,
this?
Prabhuji. How? Yes, Prabhuji. How Lord is making them convinced on their own path, Prabhuji, and how to see that they are also getting elevated to somehow like demigod worshippers are getting elevated to the supreme absolute truth, Lord Shri Krishna. So, Prabhuji, how to understand that the impersonalists are getting more and more convinced, and Lord is making them more and more convinced on their path to get them elevated to the absolute reality of the personality of God.
See,
Yes.
the impersonalist, as I understand your question, that how impersonalists are getting convinced to be understanding that Supreme is impersonal. Is that right?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Yes,
So
Prabhuji. And how that is helping?
how that is helping?
Prabhuji, like demigod worshippers are means Lord is giving them faith so that the demigod worshippers are means worshipping the demigod and Prabhuji
Right.
in different modes like Kali Puja and all. So Prabhuji, how the impersonalists are getting faith on their path, and Prabhuji, how to understand that Lord is only giving them the faith on their impersonal philosophy.
Okay. See, the karmis are there, they are more interested in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And then Krishna gives two ways, either to worship demigod and come through elevation to me, or do sakam karma and then come to the. In that, if you are interested in demigod planets also, you can go to demigod planets. But then again, come back again do. Now, those who are Gyanis, their understanding is they are not interested in eating, meeting, sleeping, defending more. They're interested in the supreme absolute truth. But while pursuing that supreme absolute truth, they may perform either mental speculation or they may perform Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. While going through Dhyana Yoga or their mental speculation, Jnani Marg, while going towards that, they will come to understand that beyond I am the Brahman and there's a Parabrahman. Now here onwards, things starts very a little fine one. Then when they understand that Parabrahman is there, but that Parabrahman is the Brahmavadi's understanding is right, not offensive. Because the one of the aspect of the supreme absolute truth is Brahman. That is not wrong, but that is not the highest. So when they understand Brahmavadis that Supreme Lord is Brahman, then they progress on that path. But those who are enemies of the Lord, those who don't accept the form of the Lord, they have their own understanding about the Lord, they have envy towards the Lord, they deny the form of the Lord. So, when the Ashtanga Yogi or the Jnani are practicing and they are getting some connection with the Brahman aspect of the Lord, that is given by the Supreme Lord only. Because uh, Lord is reciprocating, Lord is said, no, all four are Tamam Dushvitana Muda Prapadya Sukruti, these are Sukrutinas. Uh, but these Sukrutis eventually will take one of the path of karma, jnana, or yoga. And that's how Krishna is giving them further one convictions to move forward in that particular path. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
And we have one Kanchandipu writing on. Sorry. Thank you. As you told Mayavati's thing that the Jagdish is also material and he comes when pure Brahman comes in contact with the goodness. But we read in the Shastras clearly that Nitya Nityanam Chetana Chetanam Ekonam Vidatikam Param Maya Ishvara Parama Krishna Maya. So how they prove themselves that Jagadish comes by Brahman contact with goodness? Is it in Shastra? I have not come across any particular uh, verse in my study about their understanding, but in my general understanding, I can try to find out more in detail any scriptural connections are there. Actually, see, one of the clarity about understanding is Sanskrit shlokas, no? They are can be interpreted. Like we properly got in touch with the proper parampara. Otherwise, if we go to the uh, some other personality who can screw out some different meaning out of the same verse only. Like you heard that shloka about uh, रुदन्ति केशव रुदन्ति के पांडव सर्वे हा हा केशव हा हा केशव. That nice shloka is there. I forgot that shloka now. It's on Subhashit kind of thing. It says that, he Keshava was falling, and when Keshava was falling, then all Kauravas they cried, saying that Are Keshav gir gaye. And Pandav started laughing, ha ha Keshav, like that. So the Keshav means one is Lord Keshav, and Keshava means the another meaning of it is that uh, one animal was there, his shav body was falling down, and then he said, "Ha, Keshav, are iska body gir gaya, iska body gir gaya." I'm unable to recollect that nice, but point is, same verse can be misinterpreted in different way in Sanskrit language. Sanskrit language is like that. So those who are the Gyanis, those who are their mental speculators, because their minds are not pure, because their desire is to become one with the Lord, they interpret in that different sense, and therefore they come to such understanding.